Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to today's video, which is a retro unboxing for The Walking Dead All Out War. Admittedly, it's not been out all that long, probably what, 4 or 5 years I think. I had this game previously. Unfortunately I lost it, and I've literally been dying to get hold of another copy for myself to play. So this literally just came in the post just now. So as you can see, it's still sealed. I'm going to take the cellophane off just so that we can get in there and take a look at the contents. But let's have a look. All Out War, Walking Dead miniatures game. Basically, this is a game based on the characters as they're seen in the Walking Dead comics. So, not the television series. So, all of the characters are, as you see them, with regards to the comic series that was done, which is what the Walking Dead television programme is based on. So, on the front of the box, we've got some great artwork of the main characters, along with a clear plastic view cover which shows you Carl, Rick, someone else I don't recognise, and a couple of walkers. The sides of the box are all just the same, as you can see, but on the back it goes into a brief synopsis for the game. It shows you some of the miniatures, etc., as they're painted, and it also gives you a contents list. So you get 6 plastic survivors, that's Rick, Carl, Derek, Patrick, Liam, Sandra, 12 plastic walkers, 1 rulebook, 1 quick start guide. You get pictorial representations of 1 RV, 4 cars, 6 barricades, 9 supply counters. There's a threat tracker, kill zone blast template, a range ruler, initiative counter, 10 activation counters, 10 health counters, 6 survivor cards, 1 walker reference card, 15 event cards, 16 supply cards, 8 equipment cards, 6 red dice, 2 white dice, 1 blue die, 1 black ammo die, 1 black action die, and a yellow panic die. So those are the contents, and obviously there's just a quick picture on the back. So, as I said, I've been dying to get hold of this game for a while now. And what we'll do, I will just bring this down a little closer. So as you can see, the box is laid out like this. So you got all your various walker characters there, along with 1, 2, 3, 4 more at the bottom of the box, and then your survivors. You've got your dice pack. These are the cards. So these are the character cards. These are, I believe, the action cards and the supplies cards. Let's take a look underneath. Get these bits out. Now, this here is the dial for the what did they call it? The action template, I believe it was. It's either the kill zone or blast template or the threat tracker. One of the two. So, anyway. Let's open up this pack. Now these are all the relevant pieces of cardstock. You also get a very small paper game zone. So having a look at these. These are the vehicles. You've got your health trackers. You've got objective markers. The barricades. You've also got your range ruler. Dale's RV. Yeah, so this is for the arrow is for the threat tracker. So those are the two pieces of cardstock. You get a small fold out game zone. So you then get a quick start rulebook, a expand your game flyer, and where you can earn Mantic points. So looking at this, it's just a quick start rules. Shows you the various miniatures here. So we've got Rick and Carl, we've got Derek, Liam, Sandra, Patrick. You've got 12 walkers, activation counters, health counters, supply tokens, event cards, equipment cards, and supply cards. You get 6 character cards for your main characters. And just basically this goes through learning the game in a kind of step-by-step phase, which is quite handy. This is a more involved rulebook, and it as well as great pictures of painted miniatures and fantastic games terrain. It also includes little call outs for the comic. So and that is a reference sheet on the back by the look of it as well. So the rules, and read this first. Let's have a quick chat about dice. So you get a pack of dice in the game. You get 11 in total. You get 6 of these red die. You get 2 white, 1 blue. You get a yellow one, which is a panic die, and you get a initiative type die, and this has 3 badges and 3 blank sides on it. Now all of these die relate to specific defense, shooting, and melee protocols within your character cards. So with Carl, as I said, he would get 1 red die for each of his, but Carl gets a blue die for his shooting. And basically, as you progress up, so the red die is the most common one, and it has 3 white hits, 2 blanks, 3 white hits, 2 blanks where it's no hit, and 1 critical hit, which is what the exclamation mark is. But when you pick up a white die, it has only 1 blank, which is a miss. It has 1, 2, 3 hits, a double hit, and then 1 critical hit. And then the blue doesn't have any misses. So regardless, you're always going to hit with this die. Although with the defense die, when people roll their defense, they can cancel those out. So you have 1, 2 single hits, 3 double hits and then 1 critical hit on that. This die is used when deciding certain actions. If you roll a blank, it is quite often a fail, and with a star on your badge, it's often a success. And then you have the panic die, which within the game offers different things, and this relates directly to the threat level and character's nerve. So when a character hits the threat level that their nerve is at, so for example Liam has a low nerve, he will need to roll a panic dice at the start of his event phase, I think it is. And each one of these symbols represents a different thing. So for example, the running legs will mean that they will flee. The question mark means that they're terrified and they'll only be able to perform 1 action in that turn. The shushing is all quiet, perform 1 action this turn, and it may not cause mayhem. The scream is you make noise and then take 1 more action and you put the threat level up by 1. And then you have the hatchet and pistol, and that's berserk, and you add 1 extra dice to your melee attack, but you then also put the threat level up, and you have 2 question marks and then 1 of each other symbol on that die. Let's have a look at the character cards that you get with the set. So you get 6 character cards, but you also get an additional what is essentially a character card for all the walkers. Now there may be 12 walkers in the pack, but you only get 1 card because their stat lines are all the same. So let's have a quick look. So looking at Carl as an example, you get a points value in the top left hand corner, which is basically if you have a points matched game, then you know how much each person will cost, and then when you add in equipment cards, each of those equipment cards will have a points value on them too, so that you can obviously add in what you want and have an evenly matched game, hopefully. The equipment cards can be placed around the main card, so you have slots for the head, body, and then you have an item, and then you have a pack, and each one of these will show you how many items can be carried in the pack. So only 1 item on Carl's card, but when you look at Rick, he can have 3, so he can have 3 slots for equipment in his pack. Looking at the card itself, it tells you that Carl is a Synthana survivor, and he's a support for Rick mostly. So each character will have a particular type. So Rick is a tactician, Liam is a support, Patrick is a bruiser, Sandra is a runner, and Derek is a bruiser. So you will get different things. And as you progress in the game, you'll find out what they can do. You then have what their combat abilities are. So in melee, shooting and defense. So the dice that we saw earlier, Carl rolls red die, a single red die for all of those. But Rick, he rolls white for melee, blue for shooting and a white for defense. And then special equipment cards can add in additional dice and abilities. You then have your health tracker, and the little token which has the heartbeat on it is what you use for that. And on the opposite side of that token is a little bite mark. So if your character has been bitten within the game by a walker, you flip that over to show that he's been bitten. And then there's any special rules on the card for your particular characters. So that was Rick's card. And then Derek. The other thing that I'll mention is the nerve ability. Now, within the game, we've got a threat tracker, which you saw is the dial with the little arrow that spins. And basically, each turn and on drawing specific event cards, you put the event tracker up one. And it has all quiet, low, medium, high. This corresponds to your nerve. So with Carl, anything which is medium or below, he holds his nerve. But the moment he comes out of that medium threat range and goes into high threat, he has to start rolling on a panic die, which has different actions depending on what you roll. Rick and Derek have high nerve. Sandra has a medium. Patrick has medium, and Liam has low. So as I say, within the threat tracker, it relates to your high nerve, low nerve, etc. And once you pass that, you then have to start rolling on your panic die, which was the yellow die within the set. The Walker. Now, they only have melee and defense because obviously they can't shoot. But there is a special rule, an outnumbering rule. When a single walker in a combat rolls its melee value, it will normally roll a 1. However, if there are 2 walkers in contact with a character, they roll 3. And so on and so forth. And basically having a maximum of 5. Now, these are event cards, and the event cards basically relate to the threat tracker as well. And if we get a couple out to show you, so let's have a look. So as I said, the threat tracker can be moved up each game turn. It's moved up 1, but then also an event card can move the threat tracker up. So for example, this one says +1 threat. So you would move, as soon as you draw this card, you would move the threat dial up 1. And then it has 4, this card has 4 separate levels. So if your threat tracker is on all quiet, you would read this. Low threat, you would read this. Medium threat, you would read that one, and then high threat, you would read that one. And that's the same for each and every one of these cards. Each and every one of these cards will have a action that must be done within the particular threat level at that particular time in the game. And you can have ones where, for example, the walkers won't stay down because you can make a walker go prone. You have ones for herds, roamers, feeding frenzy. So if it's all quiet, roll a black die, I think that is, for each survivor engaged in melee against one walker. Okay, medium threat, you roll a blue, and so on. And yeah, so I mean, for example, this one, the threat level goes up 2. There are some which will be in play constantly. So for example, this one, alarm, and it basically, for all threat levels, the player with initiative chooses a car or other resource hub if there are no cars. So it could be a building alarm rather than a car alarm. If possible, it must be one that has no survivors within 6 inches. The car's alarm goes off, creating mayhem instantly. The car will cause mayhem again at the start of every event phase until a survivor moves into contact with it and uses a search action to shut it off. Now this can be quite useful because it can draw walkers to the vehicle, which is, you know, quite important if you want to try and clear a way to get to tokens for searching and that sort of thing. And then you have your supply counters and your equipment cards, which are these miniature ones. So we've got 8mm pistol, 22 revolver, baseball bats, kitchen knife, lucky hat, revolver, bandages, hatchet, ammo, reloads, and so on. So, oops, they are marked on the back. So, equipment and supplies. But let's have a look at what we buy the game for, or certainly what I bought the game for, and those are the miniatures. Let's have a look at the walkers first. As far as I can tell, Mantic are still producing this game, and it's still listed on their website. So you should still be able to get these and the various expansions for it. So this is a fairly hard plastic. For those of us that are old enough to remember, like the Airfix plastic soldiers, polyvinyl soldiers, these are obviously single molded miniatures. But it's a very hard plastic. It's not easily bent. So these will take paint quite well. I've made a start on a couple of other miniatures for bits and pieces that I had already. But these take paint really well. So painting them up as you choose should be quite easy. And from what I can tell, I don't think there's any repeats here of miniatures. So all of these are all different. There aren't, you know, like in some games, I mean, you look at Warhammer 40,000 when they release their start collecting box sets, you'll quite often get figures repeated, but all of these are individual sculpts for the game. And then coming on to the scavengers. So this chap is Derek. This is Sandra. A little bit of discoloration there around the back. That could be part of the mold release compound that they used. This is Patrick. Patrick is a scavenger and a bruiser. And we have Liam, who looks a bit of a fraidy cat. His nerve is low and he can't shoot. So yeah. And then obviously our main protagonists, Carl and Rick. So Rick, this is Rick pre-losing his hand. For those that haven't read the comics and only seen the TV series, Rick has his hand chopped off during the comic series, and then we have Carl. So all of those should paint up really well. So I've had time to paint the minis, and these are the walkers that came with the box set that I have painted up. And these are Carl and Rick and the scavengers. So you've got Derek, Liam, Sandra and Patrick. And they were all painted up just using Citadel colours.